Hello, my name is Tom Reichel, and I am a poet, and I'd like to tell you a little story today. And the best way to tell a story in poetry is through some sort of a long type of format. The format I'm going to use here is called a crown of heroic sonnets. And what that is it's a series of sonnets. Now, a sonnet is a poem that usually has 3 quatrains or 4-line stanzas closed with a couplet. But a heroic sonnet actually adds a 4th stanza to it, making it longer, which is where the heroic comes. Now, the crown means that there are 7 sonnets and they're all linked together. And so it becomes a series. But how it's linked is that the last line of one sonnet becomes the first line of the next sonnet. And what makes it a crown is to bring it in a circle is that the first line of the total poem becomes the last line of the 7th sonnet, thereby bringing it full circle into what's known as a crown. So the crown of a heroic sonnets are 7 sonnets interlinked and joined together by the first and last line of the total piece. Sonnet 130, A Pirate's Tale by T. Reichel. And now the gibbet and the rope are mine. A pirate's plight 'twas so aptly earned. Much misdirection wrapped me in this twine, turned from a better life that I have spurned. It weren't all roses on them Dublin docks. In fact, there be a lot of crime and grime. Street urchins stealing bread and throwing rocks. They counted me among them at the time. Me dad was always drunk when not at sea. At least the man me mum said was me pop. Course couldn't trust her claims of veracity. Her visits by strange men would never stop. So at those times Mama was occupied. Well, I was free to do whate'er I pleased, and hung with those to whom few rules applied, who'd snatch and grab the things that could be seized. So, nurtured in a school of crime and strife, this course I started on became me life. Chapter 2. This course I started on became me life, amongst the seamen and tough privateers, as tales of looted gold were running rife. I grew to hang about along the piers. Soon I was lost to dreams of gloried fame, and stole away on ship bound for the sea. I found dark hole to play me hiding game. 2 days from land the crew discovered me. The boatswain tossed me overboard at first, but then the captain had them throw a ring. 'Twas hauled upon the poop deck, where I cursed me fate, in parley that changed everything. Impressed to be a member in ship's crew, to carry grog and holystone the deck, a boys whose age 'twere only 10 plus 2, soon learned to be a hardened ship's roughneck. Ahoy, me hearties, thus me tale began. So listen well, I'll tell you best I can. Chapter 3. So listen well, I'll tell it best I can. For life aboard a ship is na all joy. As oft 'tis just adrift without a plan. There's only work or boredom for a boy. It takes adjustment time to live at sea, to acclimate to movements of the ship. Me guts took weeks to get all nausea-free. I hugged the rail for most first sailing trip. Had to avoid the grasp of dirty men. diverting them with food and hearty drink. Our officers were blind to much mayhem, and then there was the filth, the grime, the stink. But soon I was accepted one of them. I learned all aspects of the seaman's craft. As skills grew, found far less things to condemn. And at me prior squeamishness I laughed. So now, approved as member of the clan, I grew to be an ocean-hugging man. Chapter 4. I grew to be an ocean-hugging man, which means I love the sea for anything. Ashore I'd take a woman when I can, but they were left whene'er the sea would sing. I sailed with crew who knew a thing or two 'bout how to make our true intentions clear. When Jolly Roger flew forth into view, our quarry knew they's chased by Buccaneer. We'd fire a warning shot across its bow to force the prize to slowly swing about. We'd fix a grappling hook upon her prow, then jump aboard to clear the fences out. With blazing pistols and sharp cutlass blades, inflicted deadly wounds and broken bones. We killed the crew and ravished any maids, then set them off to visit Davy Jones. I found this bloody carnage such a thrill, I learned how much fun it was to kill. Chapter 5. I learned just how much fun it was to kill and spend the loot in pure debauchery at ports that would support the pirates' will, to ransom booty that we took at sea. We terrorized the Caribbean ports and captured helpless ships upon the main. Bloodlust and murder were our cruel cohorts. We held all civic laws in pure disdain. We coveted all Spanish gold doubloons and planned to find as many as we could. We stayed at sea most sunny afternoons. Against all stormy nights we even stood. The risks were very high, as were the rewards. So many fools were drawn into the fire. A life that's ruled by musket and the sword is much too tempting object to desire. When fate has fickle ways to comprehend, the lessons learned too often at the end. Chapter 6. The lessons learned too often at the end, and I was no exception to the rule. Expecting evil actions to transcend when comes the judgment for a life that's cruel. That lesson came on sailing to the fore, one foggy morning moored in our home port, surprised by one large British man-o'-war. There was no hiding place we could resort. It came downwind with blazing 80 guns, and put our prize corsair to sudden shame. Caught in their berths, each bloody mother's son jumped overboard when ship was set aflame. The redcoats fished us out like we were cod, then trussed us as the criminals we were. For once there were a few sent prayers to God. The news our capture really caused a stir. At London 'twere all hauled out from the brig, then sentenced by the court to dance the jig. Chapter 7. Then sentenced by the court to dance the jig, I spent me days like a caged animal, while friends and family didn't care a fig, for who'd defend a jaded criminal? It all began for glory and romance. Now I concede that here me time is done. Calamity concludes this circumstance to reach the end at only 21. Hindsight regrets the choices that I made, and I can't escape the fiend that I became. While misbegotten fame and fortune fade, there really is nobody else to blame. I should have acted differently somehow. Like, maybe should have gone to Sunday school and stayed far from the docks. It's too late now. I understand quite well I was a fool. I'd must admit 'twas all me own design, and now the gibbet and the rope are mine. This sonnet is one of 170 sonnets in my new book, Take Flight the Sonnets, that's now available on Amazon.com. Look under my name, Thomas G. Reichel.